The other thing about a true teaching, which we've already said it before in a different way, we said the true teacher doesn't need anything. But in this, and because of that, the true teaching doesn't foster dependence. It doesn't encourage attachment and dependence, especially to a feeling state. So when if you go to a false teacher or a cult or whatever you want to call it, you may get a dynamic where the people who are attending are basically attached and addicted or attracted or dependent upon this rajasic energy. And I think you were alluding to that as well. That when you see the synergy in the group, you were saying, Arlen, when you're in a cult, when you're in a cult of personality, a cult of charisma, then people are feeding off that shakti, that energy, that rajasic energy, and that's basically becoming dependent on a manifestation of Maya, dependent on a subtle object, which is this positive energy. It may be good for them in the short term, but it's not liberating. So we're not saying these teachings don't have their place. They do, but they're not liberating teachings. In that sense, they're false. And in their worst sense, they could be damaging because there's so much impurity there. Does that make sense? In terms of your question about tamas and rajas, what often happens is that someone who's feeling negative or tamasic, they will strive to lift themselves up to positivity, and then they'll fall back down again, and they'll oscillate between rajas and tamas. And that usually continues until the tamas is removed. How is tamas removed? There's a whole variety of ways. Through, essentially, a lot of it is through shedding your negative self-concept, the negative idea about yourself, and recreating a positive self-concept. That's essentially what usually needs to happen. You need to start to feel good about yourself, love yourself. And one thing that often helps that is to be in a loving community where people are nice and loving and caring towards you. And then you realize, because through other people loving you, through other people caring for you, through other people giving you positive messages, you start to realize, oh, I am lovable. I am worthy of love and respect and adoration from others and affection from others. And then you start to feel more self-confident. And this is making you feel positive. So from negative self-concepts, which we call low self-esteem, to positive self-concept, which we call high self-esteem, this is a good part of spirituality. And usually only once you develop good, healthy, positive self-concept, good sense of self-esteem, self-worth, usually only then can you start to become peaceful and then go beyond body-mind. This is why if you look at Vedanta teachings, traditionally they're not taught to the masses. You have to fulfill the 4 qualifications first. And I won't go through what those 4 qualifications are now, but essentially it requires a peaceful, steady mind that has largely resolved most of its psychological problems. Because if you've got lots of psychological issues, which is tamasic, then the Vedanta teachings don't work. Vedanta teachings work mainly in someone with a sattvic mind. There are some exceptions, we can call them spiritual geniuses or something like this, but for the most part, that's not the way it works. For the most part, you need a sattvic mind, a peaceful mind that's calm, that has sorted out most of its psychological issues, that is, got a stable, positive self-concept. Because without that, the teachings won't go deeper. So we have all these sarguna or sarvikalpa teachings, which get us from tamas to rajas and sattva. And then we go nirvikalpa, nirguna, to the self. And that's the true teaching, I would suggest. But the false teachings get caught up in the energies and the shakti, which is all related to the body-mind and fosters a sense of dependence rather than a sense of self-reliance, where we're not relying on a teacher or a group or a philosophy or a system, but we're learning to go within, depend only on that which is dependable. That which is dependable is the self. That's it. And you are that. That which is dependable is God. But God as self, you are that. Doesn't just stop us depend on God. It will point out that this divinity, this God is you. This is the main teaching of the Upanishads. The main teaching of the Upanishads is there is divinity and you are that. So it's equating divinity with you. This is the key revelation. Bhagwan Ramana points out this revelation is present in all the main religious teachings. There's a sequence of verses in Guru Vachaka Kovai when he points this out. But, I am that I am in Judaism, Christianity. I and the Father are one in Christianity. Every major religion will point out that the divinity in God is also you. The Upanishads very explicitly, very clearly explained that Tattvam Asi means you are that. From the Chandogya Upanishad, one of the oldest Upanishads, Chandogya Upanishad. When the son Svetaketu is taught, Tattvamasi, you are that, by his father.